I want to review something that I spoke on back at the conference. It really did kind of interested me, I guess you could say. It kind of challenged my soul. It has to do with the book of Esther. We've talked about this in the past, and I don't want to spend a great deal of time on it, but you know the book. It's an interesting book because the name of God is never mentioned in the book, and yet God's hand is all over it. God's providentially working. The other aspect of it is that the people that are like the main figures, the hero and the heroine in the book, are actually kind of questionable people. Like Mordecai is one of those guys that stayed behind. He didn't go back with the rest. He stayed and went even further into, Medo-Persia, Susa, the very capital. And there he was somewhat involved in the government. He was at the king's gate, but he was one of those people that chose to stay behind and chose to hide his identity and chose, by the way, to tell his adopted daughter, his niece, to hide her identity, and kind of involved her, rather than hiding her away, involved her in kind of this sex trafficking scheme of the king. And yet, in the midst of all that, God used it. I think that's kind of interesting. And for those of us that want to put Mordecai on a, pedestal, remember when he disobeyed Haman by not bowing to him in chapter 3 and verse 2 and on, he didn't just disobey Haman. He disobeyed the king. It was the king's order that people were to show respect. And it was during that time that he gave the reason. He said, I'm a Jew. Apparently that refers to the conflict that Haman was related to Agag all the way back from 1 Samuel 15, and there was a tremendous hatred there. Obviously, Mordecai was of the family of Saul, so there was this tension. But either way, there's lots of people that we don't like, but we still have to respect them in the system that God places us in. I don't necessarily agree with all the political leaders that we have in our nation today, but I do have to respect them. The Bible tells me to pray for them, to pray for God to keep them and to bless them so that we can live peaceably on this earth. 1 Timothy 2 and verse 1 through 5. So the Bible's pretty clear on this. So he didn't do that either. He actually disrespected the king, Ahasuerus, in disrespecting Haman. Yet God used it. God set up the whole thing. God turned it all around. God used that event to create such animosity in Haman's heart, to display what kind of person he truly was. He didn't want to just kill one. He wanted to kill the whole ethnic group, wanted to wipe them out. And God used it. And God raised up Mordecai, although God didn't honor Mordecai when he said, I want you to kill not only the people that fight against the Jews, but kill their families, kill their children, take their wealth. None of that actually happened. So there were aspects of this that God didn't necessarily bless. And I just want, maybe that opens the door for you and me. We're not perfect people. We're the weak, the frail, the beggarly of the earth. Maybe like the Apostle Paul, not fit to be called. Less than the least. But the truth is, God uses people like you and me. God uses us. It doesn't mean that we obviously act in disobedience to God, but there are aspects of our life that aren't perfect. I hope all of us are aware of that. If not, just ask the person that's closest to you. They can tell you, unless they're afraid of you. But God uses people like you and me. God loves to use people like you and me because it all ends up from that viewpoint to his glory, that none of us could have done it on our own. I don't know about you, but that's encouraging to me. I hope it's encouraging to you. I hope that's the kind of faith that we want to express into the lives of other people. Till next time, friends. God bless.